What's going on, people? So yeah, Nike sent me a pair of shoes, right? And this time around, I didn't even have to give them any money, so that's pretty cool. Now, obviously, there's like a story here or whatever to this, so this video might be a little bit, no, yes, it's definitely going to be a little bit longer because there's some stuff to talk about or whatever. So as always, yeah, pretty much always, there are timestamps, right? So use those, watch whatever part of this video makes sense to watch, choose your own adventure. You don't have to sit through the whole thing, right? I do. I don't suggest it. Either way, though, if you skip through things and you ask a question that you skipped over, don't be surprised when I don't answer it. So either way, yeah, let's go ahead and jump into the backstory first. We'll get into the shoes eventually, but again, right, so here's the thing. See this bag over here, right? Dick's House of Sports or whatever? So, when was it? It was the weekend before Thanksgiving. Some time ago, right? I went out with one of my local running groups or whatever, and they happened to be doing this. Well, they happened to have mentioned that Dick's Sporting Goods was going to be having some Nike people come down and demo some shoes, talk about some of the upcoming things and all that. So I figured, I'll go do that. Why not, right? It wasn't the. There was also going to be like a run, obviously like that's where the demoing the shoes comes in, which I wasn't thrilled about because that morning. That was the 23rd. That morning I did do like the local 5K for the Norfolk Harbor thing, right? Yeah, so I did that. Then I went to like this little event, ended up doing the same distance again with a lot more sprinting than I expected, but this time just different scenery, right? Actually, it wasn't different really. It was in a different place, but there's still just like water. There's a lot of water around here. Either way, so that whole thing. Either way. So go to this thing, right? Because it was there, meeting up. I didn't try out any of the shoes because I figured I didn't really need to in that moment. But then afterwards, back at the actual Dick's store, they're like, okay, well, come on over here and we're going to do the raffle, give out some shoes, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, all right, yeah, I can do that. That sounds fun, right? Or if anything, maybe some of my friends will win. I'll be able to be there to see that happen, right? So fast forward a little bit, move this thing out of the way. So that's where this thing comes in, right? So, got this big old, I'm standing there like right by the lady, and she's like reading off the number, and I'm looking at mine like, and I have just memorized it. I'm like, pretty sure that's my number. Then I look at it, I'm like, oh, huh, so it is my number. Well, what do you know? Because again, I'm not one to get super excited about things. I was excited that it was happening, but it didn't show, like not even a little bit, right? Because somebody caught it on video. It was very underwhelming. So either way. They gave me this because this was like some sort of commemorative thing or whatever. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, right? At first I thought I was just like holding it for the picture, but as you can see, no, it's now mine. So so that's what should be in here, a pair of Pegasus 41s. But also, along with that, they gave out these bags to everybody. So even if you didn't really win, you at least walked away with something. So I'll show you what's in here. First off, it is like a nice little bag, right? Right, so carry some stuff around. And then, let's see, this is just like a whole bunch of stickers. So there's that. I haven't looked in this bag. Like, it's been sitting in that room over there for like several weeks. Actually, over a month now, because it's the 25th. It's actually Christmas Day. What do you know? It's Gore-Tex brand. I'm not sure what's in here. So we'll see. Oh, that's actually kind of cool, right? So we got some footwear repel cleaner type stuff, and then some footwear, and this is like the cleaner. So you got the repel and the cleaner from Granger's. I don't know that brand, but I mean, if Dick's is giving it out, it's probably like decent. Got a little brush in here, right? Gore-Tex thing written on the back. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And this Gore-Tex footwear thing, right? Telling you some stuff that you may need to know if you're going to use these chemicals, right? So that's actually pretty nice, right? I don't have any Gore-Tex shoes at the moment, but maybe soon. And then this shirt was in here. So what does that say? If you don't hate running a little, you don't love running enough. And I will say this. I do kind of hate it, right? I was just running this morning, right? Went out with some friends around Virginia Beach, just kind of doing that whole thing. 5.13 miles, I think that's what it was. Another sticker in here, and a couple pins. So you got a run one, and then like the one that is also from the shirt. So, and whatever this is. I honestly don't know. Oh, I think it's one of those, yeah, it's one of those like bracelet things. So that's interesting. Haven't seen one of those since I was like 6. Either way, so there's also going to be that in there. So there you go. And so one thing, like I was saying before we go getting on into the shoe piece, on the Saturday, that day that happened, I did that 5K in the morning. Lots of times when you do those, they give you these little medals, right? So I got this one for doing that because, you know, this is the 5K one. This comes from J&A Racing, which means that they often double as bottle openers or can openers, whatever, right? I guess bottle openers, right? Because cans don't really have like tops that need help opening. So I got that one. And then the next day was the 10K. Did that as well. So I got this little lady over here. And since I did both of the events, they give you this one that says, hey, I did both of the events, right? So kind of cool, right? And obviously, like with an extra 5K in there where this whole thing came in. A lot of running that weekend. But the thing that's crazy is on that particular endeavor, for both of those two, I got my still current best times, right? So for the 5K and the 10K. 5K being 3.1 miles, 10K being 6.2, right? Simple math, but some people may not really know that. I don't know. And so, as a result of things going a little better than expected, they sent me this thing later. So there you have this. It's almost like a fancy coaster, but the big deal is on the back where it says that I was like first in the age group. There's some fine print behind that being first thing. I wasn't exactly first, but the first group of awards that they get the first group of awards that they give out is for people who were in like the masters category, because I would fall into that, right? 35 years and higher. So I want to say the person before me in my age group got like the masters award, and I don't know if there was anyone else in my age group before me, right? But I was at most second, right? As far as like in my age group, because the first person would have got the masters thing more than likely, and then because I'm pretty sure they were high enough to have gotten that, right, as far as like ages go. So I think I was like the second, maybe even third in the age group all in all. But you know, whatever. I just bring that up because while cool, I don't want it to be misleading. I think it was like a 7:30 pace, something like that whole time. So whatever that came out to. So now I guess I'll leave this thing up here. Why not? So you can look at that and wish you had one, right? Some big old check that you have nothing to do with except sit in the background of videos. Yeah. It is cool, though. I will say that. Story time's over, people. Let's talk about some shoes, huh? All right. Let's cut into this box here. And so I did the Santa, another story-ish thing building up to this. I did the Santa 5-miler run. Surfing Santa 5-miler a couple weeks ago, right? And this guy walks up to me and says, hey man, have you heard about the shoes yet? Did you get yours? I did not recognize this person at all. I felt like I had never seen them, but he remembered me from this. And strangely enough, like just that week, like a couple days earlier, I had received the whole thing saying, oh, hey, here's a FedEx tracking number. Because on the FedEx side, I have my account with my address in there. So anytime I get a package, like they send me an alert, right? Because Nike themselves said nothing whatsoever to me. I was just sitting in the dark thinking, I'm never going to get these shoes. Like, they just said that. It was all publicity stunt. But no, here we are. There's actually more stuff in here than I expected, so not sure what's going on with that. Okay, one of these, just because this box was... Alright. Let me just pull all this stuff out, right? So, set that down here. So the large box, right? A lot of space in there, not a lot of stuff, and there's like no packaging in here. So everything's just kind of like falling all over the place. So we're gonna start with this thing, and then we'll get into this shoe situation, right? Okay, so I don't know what this is. And it's like, I don't want to cut too deep into it because I don't know if I'm going to damage anything by doing that. I would like to think that there's going to be some kind of cardboard box. Okay, good. But again, you don't know when you're just receiving stuff, like what's going on here. And this is actually packaged, I almost like a bomb. You know, like got all this like weird stuff going on here. Like what's going to be in here? Or like, you ever watch that show? What's it called? Ah man, I can't think of it. It's on like National Geographic. It's the one where like people are going through airports and they're like smuggling drugs. You know, that's kind of what this is coming off like. Because it's got all these extra layers on here and some like mystery box that I don't know what's going on. Man, what is it? To Catch a Smuggler. Yeah, that's what it's called. That show right there. I often watch it like in the middle of the night on like Saturdays when I'm coming home late after a concert or something and I'm still kind of awake. I'll like watch it then, get all sucked into it. Like, oh man, this guy's never going to get out of Peru or wherever they are. So it's a pretty alright show. Sometimes people are doing that stuff on purpose. Sometimes like they get tricked into like whatever by some like friend or yeah. Why does that smell weird? Alright, let's go ahead here. And what is this? Okay, so there's a mug in here of does this I'm not quite seeing the purpose of it. Not the purpose, but this mug itself is seeming a little bit weird at first because it's just like this one with like this kid on it. Like, why is that in here? I honestly don't know. So maybe this was not supposed to be in here. Yeah, I think it wasn't. Yeah. So, because there's like another thing on there, like now that I look at the label, so that's a little weird, but whatever. This is what we're here to talk about. Quick shot of the side of the box before I go arranging this thing in some kind of weird order. Alright, so yeah, now we're finally getting towards the shoes section of this thing. Alright, some sort of cream type color thing. Okay, Tristan, thank you so much for joining the House of Sports Nike running event. I hope this shoe helps you conquer more miles. Happy holidays from Natalie. So there's that. And what do you know? Oh, yeah. And since, like I said, since it's Christmas, this is kind of like, I guess, the time to do this. I'm really only doing this because I'm kind of caught up on a lot of videos, so I want to keep it that way. All right, let's see. What do we have here? This is. I guess it depends on how you want to hold it, but either way, so there's this little flag type of bandana. I don't know what this thing is, but it's in here and it's kind of all right. So there's that. I'm gonna fix this paper later. What does this say? It says Light Orewood Brown and White Sesame. Orewood. That was the foam posits. Those were Orewood. Remember those if you watched that video? All right, so now we can actually talk about these things. How long has this video been already? Sometimes like this would be where I'd be getting into the sizing and wrapping up the video already. You know what I'm saying? Crazy. Like I said, it's going to be a long one. This right here is the Nike Air Zoom Pegasus 41 in Light Orewood Brown and some other color that I can't remember right now. So the other thing about this now being that I have to do this review on this thing that I've never seen and know very little about. So expect a bumpy ride, people. But whatever, I'm going to start with the bottom because that's the thing that I often do. Down there, what are you looking at? I don't even know yet. Actually, this looks like the standard type of outsole from some of the recent Nike running shoes that I've seen. So it looks like it should be good for traction and all that good stuff. So no real complaints, not super colorful or anything, but hey, I kind of saw that coming from the way the upper looked. Let's take a look over here at this midsole though. On the midsole, this is kind of looking a lot like the Invincible 3 that I have, just because it's a little bulky in the back. Not the Invincible 3, the Infinity Run 4, excuse me. Kind of reminded me of those in some ways, you know, but I guess the Invincible 3 isn't far off either. So it's just going to be like the same sort of color you saw down on the bottom. And on the inside, it's equally plain, right, in case you were curious about all that. Then again, this shoe is out. That's part of the reason I do that, so you can catch the other side even if I don't say anything. So, the rest of the upper, right? Checking this whole thing out, looking at that. Yeah, not a whole lot going on in here, right? Like I said, it's not the most colorful thing, so I'm curious how some of the other ones would look, right? if they do anything more with like the stitching patterns to like make the design stand out a little bit more. But hey, whatever. So let's move on past all that stuff, and we're just gonna go through some things here, and I'll talk about what I'm seeing. So down here, toe box area, right? The way that's looking like is gonna be just like your standard type of mesh and everything. So it feels to be nice as far as like the padding goes on the inside and everything like that. So likely pretty breathable. I'll find that out over time. I'll have to do like a running follow for something later. This video will likely just get the highlights out there and give you some idea of what it could be like maybe. Moving on to the middle here, right? So that's kind of an interesting design. It just because of the way they did this like sort of netting here. So you got this brown type of color going on behind the actual swoosh. And then the swoosh itself is a very plasticky sort of feeling thing. Kind of feels weird in some ways, but not bad, just like awkward. So there's that. And then above that, you have like that same sort of, I guess that's the Orewood. I think that's the Orewood color, the lighter color. So you got more mesh going on up there with like a slightly different stitching to it. And as you get around to the back, it is a little bit stiffer back there around the heel cup area, but that's to be expected because that's how shoes are often built, right? Running shoe wise. Now, moving on past that, looking at the very back and everything. So that pretty much the same thing you were expecting to see because it's all just kind of one plain look back there. Overall, you do have a couple little spots here and there where like there's the little 3M strips, which is a good thing to have, right? Especially if you're going to be running around and all that good stuff. These, luckily, there's like a lighter color, so that would help them stand out a little bit more, but it's always good to have that little flash, right? Now, jumping back to the front piece here, talking about the laces. The laces themselves, they feel nice. I do like that, right? There's nothing overall special about them as far as like any little effects going on in there. Just kind of like some white speckles if you look close enough. And then if you see the tips are kind of like that more tan sort of color that you saw on the sidings. So moving on behind that, the tongue feels pretty nice actually. It feels kind of plush in some ways. It's standard mesh and all that. And I'm talking about like mostly the bottom at this point. So that's feeling pretty alright. And then as you get to the top, it feels like silky smooth kind of, like depending on which way you're rubbing your fingers on it. If you're going to like with the lines or against, right? So I do like that. Pretty nice touch. And it has a little label on there just saying Nike Pegasus 41. So there's that. And as far as like the back of the tongue goes, same sort of thing as the front, right? It's just on the inside. So there you go, there's that. And one thing that I will point out again before I go jumping onto the inside here, because I just happened to notice it. It does say Nike ReactX on the back here, which is kind of like one of their newer foams that they've made. So it's supposed to be same thing as I said when I did the Infinity Run 4 and the Pegasus Trail 5 video, because that also used that same foam. It's one of their newer things, right? They've got multiple ways to do foam, and this is supposed to kind of give you like a nice middle ground of having something that's good for the environment and still like feels good, because usually you kind of have to figure out which one do you want more, like taking care of the environment or feeling good on your feet. Supposedly they've got a nice middle ground going with these, right? And I did just run around this morning in the Infinity Run 4. It felt better. Maybe it might have just been taking some time to like get those broken in, but they don't feel great out of the box, those Infinity 4s, but they're getting there, so there is that. Anyway, so down on the inside here, everything in there looks very much like what you saw on the outside, so just like that almost white type of color and that tan type of color, right? And that just says Nike running and something with the date, established 1972, just do it. So there you go, there's the whole look and everything. So I'm going to hit you with some personal thoughts real quick, and then we will jump on into sizing and stuff. Well, not immediately, but you know. Personally speaking, I think these are looking okay, right? I got no real complaints about them. And this color isn't one, obviously, like if you've seen the stuff I buy, like this probably isn't the one that I would run out and pick up myself, because I like to get things that are a little bit more colorful. But I'm not mad at it either, right? It's going to be like a nice break from some of the other colors that I do have in just overall running shoes. Now, as far as the shoe itself goes, right? So far, I'm feeling like this should work out pretty well. I've never worn a standard pair of Pegasus shoes, but I do buy the Pegasus trail releases. Not all of them, but when it makes sense. And those have treated me very well. I'm a big fan of the Pegasus trail releases, right? So if this follows suit with those, as far as like how they work out, running around and whatnot, then things are going to be good and I'll have some good things to say. But I'm probably not going to be able to get around to actually doing the follow-up on that until, I got a 5K coming up, right? So yeah, should be hopefully like no more than 2 weeks, right? Because I got to take some time to get some runs in and all that stuff, wrap my mind around some things. So we'll see. Though with the holidays and stuff, some of the run groups aren't meeting up as regularly. I'll figure that out later. You'll see it when you see it. But all in all, I'm thinking things are going to be all right. So I'm feeling kind of optimistic here, right? Though I am curious to also see what some of the other colors look like. I'd have to look that up for myself. Now, the sizing, the comfort, right? That part, that's important. So unfortunately, instead of going right into it, I gotta go walk around in these because I've never worn a pair of these before, right? So I'm gonna be back in a minute after I see how these fit, how they feel and all that, and then I'll give you some sort of update on it. Cool? It doesn't matter if it's cool or not. That's what's happening, people. Okay, so now I'm back, got these tried on, walked around a little bit. Things are feeling pretty alright, but I'll give you some details on that because I don't think that that's really enough now, is it? So let's go ahead and talk about this whole size thing because, it's that part of the video. So, sizing wise, I didn't buy these. I got these in a 9.5 because that's the size that I told the woman that my foot was, right? And so that's what she sent, and honestly, it's working out pretty well, to be frank. It's kind of weird in some ways, right? Because to me, I'm wearing some socks right now that are just a smidge thicker than my average running socks, like compression socks. And I have like just enough room in here, right? It feels really good to me. But that's not leaving a whole lot left, right, or front to back or anything like that, right? So you might want to go and try a pair of these on before you go committing to true to size for yourself. Because depending on your foot structure or just how you prefer your shoes to feel, right? Things might vary, right? But for me, true to size is working out all right. They feel really nice on the upper. They feel kind of plush, kind of extra comfortable in some areas or whatever. Lightweight, breathable, all the things that I'm a fan of. So I'm definitely liking them so far. And I'm feeling like that's probably going to translate into like a good experience when I go with the running thing. We'll see about that though. But off of that note, the one thing that does really matter a lot would obviously be the lower piece, like the midsole and all that. And that is feeling really good. There are a lot of running shoes where I'll say, well, maybe not a lot, but every now and then I'll say that I like a particular running shoe, but I wouldn't wear it just like daily walking around. I'd leave it for when I need it for performance wise or whatever. Just leave it to the tracks and the trails. But this one, I could see using these as just like walking around shoes. Just even if you just wanted something comfortable. It's probably something cheaper, but I mean, I can't knock it, right? So I just say that to say that these are pretty good if you want to wear these all day, right? Not just for the run. Because they're not bouncy, but they're cushiony, right? And that's the thing that I like, because sometimes things feel a little too bouncy. So I like that. There's some good comfort in there. Felt like not like walking on clouds like a Super Blast 2 or something, but it feels really good. So just take my word for it on that. But again, I'll have to do some sort of follow-up at some point later when I've actually like put some miles in on these in a way that actually matters. But for right now, things are looking up, man. So good on Nike and the Pegasus brand. I've heard a lot of people are fans of them and all that good stuff. They've been around forever. Obviously, this is the 41, right? I bought numerous Pegasus, like Bears and Cowboys colorways for my aunt and dad, respectively. But again, until now, I've never really tried a pair out for myself, but I'm starting to wonder, maybe I've been missing something, So things are good. Things are good. From me to you, have a nice rest of your day or rest of your night, wherever you are. I have one other shoe review that will definitely be shorter than this one, so look forward to that. I'm looking forward to it already. Later, people.